So in my last video, I spoke about supply chain security. A few of you reached out to ask questions about how do I go about this entire journey, how should I get started, what tool should I use, and what's the right playbook. That's when it made me think, is there a playbook that I could share with some of you folks that has worked for us, for our customers, and overall what we have seen in the market out there, right? This playbook is a very neutral, vendor-agnostic playbook. And what I've done is I've broken it down into 6 different rows and 3 different maturity levels, as you can see, right? So you go from starter all the way up to enterprise. So the 6 rows that you see actually run from policy, inventory. They talk about how can you start assessing some of these issues, how do you get alerted on them, and finally the reporting and the continuous monitoring side. I want to start with stage 1, right, which I want to call starter, right? It's your survival kit, it's your basic level that one has to achieve. So what does this look like? It's a simple policy, having a manual SBOM or a software bill of materials, having basic threat intel coming in, and some level of reporting that you do. Now, how do you make this effective? It's important that you review your SBOM on a weekly basis, but also use the OWASP dependency scans to look at what are the issues that are emerging with some of these libraries or components that you use today, right? A software composition analysis, if you may, and a scan. By virtue of reviewing them every week with your entire dev team and security team, they are staying abreast to know about what are the things that have to be mitigated immediately, right? A pitfall that I want to share with you is something that we've learned from experience is don't have one security champion who's leading this entire charge. It's very important to train as many people so that if that security champion is missing, there's somebody else in the team who can really take this forward, and it's actually being done on a weekly basis. The reports can be very simple for this stage. It's like I said, it's important to just get started, right? Have a simple SBOM. Today there are a lot of tools that can help you achieve this right off the bat, as you can see some of the names right here. But also, by virtue of getting started, start some basic analysis, some basic scans, and then finally reporting, and stick on this journey for a couple of months as you mature in this journey. So now you've done this for a couple of weeks, couple of months, your starter is working fine, right? How do you essentially move to the next level? I want to call it the hybrid level, right? So this is where automation joins the party, right? How can you have your SBOMs automatically generated? How can you have the necessary CI gates that's automated? How can you ensure that you're getting nightly threat intel coming in from various free and paid sources? How can you have dependabot type of auto pull requests being sent out? And lastly, how can you have live dashboards? That is where things go up a notch. So golden nugget that I want to share here is the automated pull requests frankly start becoming a part of your routine. This is where you'll see your mean time to remediate reduced by half. But a big pitfall that I want to talk about is tool sprawl, or having way too many tools, which we typically see in security. If you have way too many tools that are being actioned upon, right, you'll first have tool fatigue. You'll also have a lot of metrics and telemetry and intel coming in from all of these tools, right? And that is where effective triaging, knowing what needs to be remediated, becomes a challenge, right? So stick to 1 or 2 tools at best. I would suggest only 1 tool for each category. Triage, report. So now this brings us to the pinnacle of what your supply chain security program should look like. I want to call it enterprise grade because of the type of tools that one would start using. This is where you're going to live in the realm of full automation. Your policies are going to be in line with the NIST SSDF. You're going to have tools which are going to allow you to have automated SBOM generation, reviews, the likes of them. You'll also have SBOMs being generated for your QA, dev, production, so that you can start assessing the differential between all of them. It's also very important to realize that this is also a stage where you're going to have a lot of threat intel coming into your systems, both free and paid. You'll have a very effective MDR, managed detection response solution or a SIM, and then all of this data starts correlating with each other. Your SBOM data, your threat intel goes into your MDR, which allows more active triaging, which tells you, hey, these are the issues that you should be looking at because they are being exploited in the wild, or this is a high severity basis the CVSS, or the exploit possibility is very high because of what the EPSS looks like. Right. And finally, this is what enables you to then start having more automated playbooks using your source solutions. And like I said, this is your pinnacle and this is the final stage. There are tons of great tools across the board, both on the MDR side, on the supply chain security side. What would I suggest to someone looking at this type of program? The biggest takeaway here for us has been understanding what is the differential between SBOM between the various builds, whether it's QA, dev, and production. Understanding that differential becomes very important because we have noticed that in production builds have very, very different SBOMs as compared to QA and dev, and that changes a lot of things. And this is something that you need to be careful about. And of course, I can't not talk about alerting and reporting, right? So this is where your SIM is going to be punching out a lot of alerts, and it's very, very important that you cut through the noise by using effective triaging, enriching it with as much telemetry data as you can, or any sort of data that would allow you to understand what are the issues that you need to tackle today, tomorrow, etc. Right? And finally, the reporting has to be a lot more dynamic. It has to be real time. Execs have to get as much data as possible. But if you're someone who's in the SaaS space, or you're a service provider for various organizations, right? You might be an application service provider, the likes of them. It's very important that you start exposing this data associated to SBOM to your customers, who can then pick this data up from your APIs to understand what is your SBOM looking like and whether your components and libraries are truly secure. This is the final level of third-party risk management on this side. The good part about security is, frankly, everything in the end boils down to effective detection and fast remediation. So wherever you might be in your journey, it's very important to take the right next step. Start small, automate fast, use some of the common open source tools or third-party enterprise solutions, and treat your SBOMs as living guardrails. Feel free to reach out if you have questions. I'm happy to soundboard or help you figure out what should your software supply chain program start looking like. Thank you.